Have you ever wondered what happens when science gets it wrong? It's a question that might set your mind spinning. After all, science is often viewed as the beacon of truth in a world full of uncertainties. Yet it's crucial to remember that science, in its essence, is a process of constant exploration and discovery, and sometimes it can lead us down the wrong path. The world of scientific investigation is not a flawless one. It's a realm where hypotheses are formed, tested, and sometimes proven wrong. It's a continuous cycle of trial and error, of questions and answers, and of mistakes and corrections. But what happens when these scientific errors have profound, real-world consequences? What occurs when a miscalculation, a misinterpretation, or a flawed hypothesis leads to disastrous outcomes? Throughout history, there have been several instances where scientific missteps have had severe repercussions. These are not mere instances of a failed experiment in a lab or a theory that didn't hold up. No, these are situations where the results were far more dire, leading to the loss of thousands of lives. From the miscalculations of the Middle Ages to the tragic tale of the radium girls, from the thalidomide disaster to the ongoing crisis of climate change denial, these scientific blunders have left a lasting impact on our world. While some of these mistakes were born out of ignorance, others were the result of arrogance or even willful negligence. In this video, we will take a deep dive into these scientific mistakes that shook the world. We will journey through time, exploring each of these instances in chronological order. We will delve into the what, the why, and the how, all in an attempt to understand the true nature of these scientific errors and the lessons we ought to learn from them. So fasten your seatbelts as we journey back in time to understand the consequences of scientific blunders, because as much as we'd like to believe otherwise, science is not perfect. And it's in acknowledging this imperfection that we can strive to make it better. Our first stop takes us to the Middle Ages, a time not exactly known for its scientific accuracy. This era was marked by a darkness that extended beyond the lack of electric light. It was a darkness of understanding. The most notable example of this was the bubonic plague. This deadly disease claimed the lives of nearly 2/3 of Europe's population, largely due to scientific misconceptions. The prevailing belief was that the plague was a punishment from God, or caused by bad air. These theories led to ineffective and often harmful treatments like bloodletting and burning aromatic herbs. The real culprit, the Yersinia pestis bacterium, transmitted by fleas from rats, remained undiscovered until the late 19th century. Had the knowledge we possess today been available then, millions of lives could have been saved. The bubonic plague was a grim reminder of what can happen when science is absent. Fast forward to the 20th century, a time of scientific progress but also of scientific errors. This era beheld a tragic case, the radium girls. These were young women employed in factories during World War I, painting watch dials with a substance that glowed in the dark, radium. In those days, radium was thought to have health benefits, a misbelief that would soon prove deadly. The women were encouraged to point their brushes with their lips to maintain precision. Unbeknownst to them, each time they did, they ingested the toxic substance. Years later, the grim effects of radiation poisoning began to show. Their bones became brittle, teeth fell out, and many developed aggressive cancers. The radium had literally eaten them from the inside out. Their suffering led to significant changes in workplace safety standards and helped shape modern labor laws. The radium girls, a tragic example of scientific oversight leading to devastating human loss. Next, we delve into the 1950s, an era of medical advancements and unfortunately medical disasters. The thalidomide tragedy is a haunting chapter in this history. Hailed as a miracle drug, thalidomide was marketed as a safe and effective treatment for morning sickness in pregnant women. But the promise of relief had a dark underbelly. Unbeknownst to the medical community and expectant mothers, thalidomide hadn't been adequately tested for its impacts on fetal development. The result was catastrophic. Thousands of babies were born with severe birth defects, their lives forever marred by this medical oversight. The thalidomide tragedy shook the world, leading to stricter regulations and a renewed emphasis on rigorous drug testing. But the damage inflicted by thalidomide remains a painful legacy, affecting generations of families. Thalidomide, a stark reminder of the deadly consequences when medical science errs. Finally, we arrive in the present day, where one of the greatest scientific mistakes is still unfolding. We're talking about climate change denial. This isn't a mistake born of a miscalculation or a flawed experiment, but rather a blunder of denial, misunderstanding, and misinformation. Picture this. The world's scientific community is virtually unanimous in its understanding that our planet's climate is changing, and human activity is the primary driver. Yet there's an alarming number of people, including some in positions of power, who choose to deny this consensus or downplay its gravity. This denial has resulted in a slow, inadequate response to climate change, allowing its devastating impacts to escalate. Extreme weather events, from hurricanes to heat waves, have become more frequent and intense. Polar ice is melting at an unprecedented rate, contributing to rising sea levels. Our ecosystems are struggling to adapt, with countless species facing extinction. The human cost of climate change is staggering, with communities displaced due to flooding or drought, crops failing, and diseases spreading. This is a reality that many around the globe are already experiencing, and it's set to get worse. It's easy to point fingers at industry giants and policymakers, but it's important to remember that the denial of climate change is a societal issue, a collective failure to understand and trust the science and to act upon it. The longer we delay taking comprehensive action, the steeper the price we'll pay. The world's top scientists warn that we only have a few years left to limit the worst effects of climate change. This isn't a far-off problem, it's an imminent threat, and we need to treat it as such. We must learn from the past scientific blunders we've discussed and apply these lessons to our current situation. We need to embrace the science, question misinformation, and demand action from our leaders. Our future quite literally depends on it. Climate change denial, a current scientific blunder with far-reaching and potentially catastrophic consequences. As we move forward, let's not let denial and misunderstanding guide our actions. Instead, let's base our decisions on sound science and a clear understanding of the stakes.